How many seats are in the club?
About 150.
So I think we should pick a date sometime after the road rally, and I'll make it known to taxi members and see if you can like reserve 25 or 50 seats, and we'll have a bunch of us that want to fly out and see the band live, do like a taxi night at the club.
Road trip.
Yeah,
Sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. I'll take care of it. I'll take care of everybody. We'll have a we'll do a thing. And
Awesome.
and maybe we could even work in a after, before, or the next day or the day before, do a little you know panel master class, something.
Yeah,
I could get some of the arrangers in the band, or some of the other guys that write, whatever. But
that
we
would
could
be
turn it into a
awesome.
thing.
We could turn it
Yeah,
into a taxi TV. Is what we could
a
do.
thing. Yeah, there you go.
Oh man, this is so much fun. You're reinvigorating me. I've been in the business as long as you have, and not every day is a honeymoon. And but when I just started out talking to you, I thought to my actually while I was listening to the song on this episode, I thought to myself, this is why I got in the music industry, because music like this is not just this style, but this level of playing and the apparent love for playing it is so obvious that this is what I wanted to be around my whole life. And it all
Yeah.
started with seeing the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show because they
Wow.
looked like they were loving that moment as well.
I remember that. I remember
Yep.
that. If our band, we do a live stream show on the first Monday of every month.
Ooh.
So we've got one coming up on the, what is it, the 4th?
Yeah.
And if people will go to santafeband.com/live, they can watch the show live. We set the club up during the whole pandemic thing so we could continue playing. And we've got a like a 6 camera shoot. We've got the director. We've got that's a whole other thing.
It's I've seen one of those when I started stalking you the other day. One of the
Yeah.
things I saw, and you guys had all the plastic
Oh yeah.
partitions and everything.
Yeah. We took over the whole club because we couldn't have anybody in there, and we used a plexiglass drum shields and set the horn section in a whole other place. It was a whole trip. So now though we've got all of that rearranged so that the cameras are on the stage and in and around the stage, and so it's good.
Well, I'm going to miss the one on October 4th because I'm going to be at an afternoon wedding on that Monday. But
Ah,
I know that I will watch these in the future. I literally
great.
can't get enough of you and your band. How many writers do you have in the band?
Um, my my partner Jamie Hosmer, he's plays keyboard, sings, all that stuff. He's a great writer. Nathan Tenoy, our trombone player who runs the jazz studies at UNLV, he's a wonderful composer, writer, arranger. David Richardson, the piano player, he's a amazing songwriter. And Phil Wigfall, the guy that's playing the alto sax on "I'll Pack It Up,"
Yeah.
he's brilliant. He's a brilliant writer. In fact, we've got
Wow.
like 3 new of his songs that we'll be doing on our new CD that we're going to start tracking probably in November.
Tell
And
everybody where they can get the previous CDs, by the way.
yeah, so if you go to CD Baby, and I think you can probably get them even if you go to our website, santafeband.com. There's a place there that you can buy the CDs. You can probably download all this stuff at any of the, iTunes, wherever you download music from. Yeah, this "I'll Pack It Up" is from a CD called "When the Curtain Goes Up." All right. So the whole thing about "When the Curtain Goes Up," it's a song that's on the CD. It's called "When the Curtain Goes Up, the Bullshit Stops." I don't want to be, but
It's all right.
but it's about what we do. You know, um, when we first came to Vegas, my brothers and I, we were pretty scruffy. We had our hair down to here. We looked like Carlos Santana circa '69. And we were trying to break into the lounge where there was actually money, because we'd be, going from our bar gig and then we'd get a road gig. It'd be in San Diego. Then we'd have to go from there to Pueblo, Colorado, and then to whatever. And these guys in Vegas, they're working the lounges. We're going from the Flamingo to the Hilton to Caesars. The road trips were smaller. They had houses with pools, you know. So we're trying to break in. And the first time that we got a chance to do that, we kind of got snubbed by some of the guys in the band that was going to play before us. And they wouldn't let us put our gear in a certain place or whatever. And my brothers got a little huffy, you know. Like I told you, we were a little rough around the edges, and they wanted to deal with it in a different way. And I told them, you know what? No, I said, listen, we're going to make our bones when the curtain goes up, because when the curtain goes up, the bullshit stops. And that's the truth about what we do, right? Where the rubber meets the road, you either, you know, you is or you isn't. And so that's the name, how the name of that song came about, and the title of that CD.
Wow. Every one of these stories would be enough to do like a whole episode just on the story.
My life's been a Quentin Tarantino movie, okay?
Awesome.
These are the stories I can tell.
By the way, his music supervisor is my keynote interview for the Road Rally this year.
Ah, awesome. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, as am I. She's... what an interesting gig that is, but that's not her only gig. She's done a bunch of other stuff, and I'm sure that everybody else who's ever interviewed her, it's all about Quentin, and of course I want to know about that stuff. Like, you know, does he hand you a list and say, go get it, or do you guys collaborate at all? But she's a true craftsperson, and I'm fascinated by the art and craft of music supervision. It's not about picking hits, it's about picking what works with the picture.
Right.
Well, I'm going to open it up. So many people have been asking questions in the chat room, so I'm going to open it up and let these guys ask you some questions. I know somebody asked earlier if you recorded the record in the home studio, and I know the story, but they don't. So go ahead and tell them where you recorded it and who mixed it, etc.
So the basic tracks for that were recorded at the recording studio at UNLV at University of Las Vegas here. One of our trumpet players runs the recording program over there, and we've a bunch of us, some of the guys went to school there. We've been real close with the university there, so we get to use the studio. We pay the engineer, but we get to use the studio. It's an awesome studio. So the basic tracks were recorded there. Vocals and guitars I did at my place. I've got a great front end and great mics and great stuff. And it was mixed by an amazing gentleman by the name of Steve Sykes in Los Angeles, who is an amazing guitar player, just one of the sweetest human beings on the planet, and loves the band as much as I love the band. So when he's mixing it, he's like the 16th member of the band. And
Wow.
you can tell, I mean, that, you know, by the outcome of it. So that's how that's done.
You know,
all of our demos are home demos. So I mean, all the demos before the song ever gets to the band are, you know, it's an internet band. It's like I'm sending out MP3s of the vocal breakdowns to the guys, you know, their harmony parts. We're sending PDF files of the charts. Everybody, I mean, because we may rehearse, you know, 3 or 4 times a year, and so the guys show up prepared and, you know, ready to go. But
so it was all charted. I mean, it is pretty obvious to me that this is the real deal, and
Yeah.
it was charted. One of the beautiful things about it, and I'm sure this is true of all your other music, is the precision, the musical precision with which parts are laid into the track. The follow down on I can't remember what, but that's my favorite part of the whole song.
Yeah.
It's just,
yeah.
it's like
the synth parts, yeah.
Yeah, people wonder, you know, we use the term ear candy a lot. That's ear candy. It's that magical little salt and pepper that makes something great, which is much better than good. And you guys have so much of it. The parts are just perfectly laid in there, and I'm sure that Steve Sykes, when he gets these tracks, probably, you guys walk out of the room, grab coffee, he shoves all the faders up to 0 and just hits play, and it sounds like it's mixed because the parts are laid in so perfectly.
Yeah, well, we try to, by the time Steve gets them, I've gone through every track. I've gone through each one of them to make sure that if I put all the faders at unity gain, and we're looking at it, that that it's not a mess. And it's a difficult thing when you're talking about a 15-piece band with that many pieces and guys who play in a reactionary sort of way, right?
Yeah.
Like I will play. It's a conversation I'm having with the rest of the rhythm section. The horn parts are like they're nailing what's the ink that's on the paper. There's no moving from that. But the rhythm section, we're like this living, breathing organism that, you know. So it was an interesting thing of how we actually track that big of a band. The way I do it is I take the whole band into the studio in its entirety, all of us. We play to a click track, and the only thing that we keep from that, we use every one of those things as work tracks. So then the rhythm section can come back in by ourselves and use the horns that we did in the original session that were like work tracks, right? Because otherwise we're going to be stepping on each other when we actually lay down the real tracks. Anyway, that's what we've done in the past.
Sounds great. If you guys have a question, type in the word question in all caps so it's easy for me to pick them out of the chat. Andre, I remember you had a couple questions early on, so don't be afraid to come back to me here because you guys have 13 minutes left to ask questions. I'm going to scroll up, see if I can find one while they're thinking. Yeah, of course, somebody just typed in dead silence. Yeah, 10 minutes ago, questions were flying by, and I'm going, oh, I've got to cut out some time to get to these. Somebody asked how old you are, but I'm not even going to ask that question. Nobody should ever have to tell their age in a public venue.
I'm 65 years old. I don't mind. It doesn't matter to me. You know,
it's funny. I didn't want to be impolite, but I talk about my age all the time too. That's why I think part of why you and I bonded so much the other day is we grew up almost exactly at the same musical time.
Same stuff. The same music underscored our lives. You know.
Yep.
And we came up in a time of calibrating tape machines and.
I can't believe you know that stuff. That's great.
I owned a recording studio. I built a recording studio. I got it. You know, I lost my butt on the entire enterprise, but boy, did I learn a lot. You know?
Did you have MCI multi-tracks?
I had an MCI console, the 556 console that I bought out of, it was at Oak. I'm trying to remember the name of the studio in Los Angeles. But I had a 3M machine.
Yeah.
And, I had Otari as well. And, like I said, I learned how to calibrate tape machines and, all of the things that I had no idea I was gonna learn. But yeah, so we're kind of from the same.
The kids
era.
Today have it so easy, don't they?
These kids, they got a mouse. You know?
That's right. I had an MCI 556 at one point in my career. I started out on a 528, had a 556, and then finally ended up with an SSL 6048.
Right.
Boy, that was an upgrade.
Yeah, so you know that board. It's funny. That board, Weather Report recorded some of their hits on it. I mean, there was a lot of... So it's funny, the pad, right, that sits at the edge of the console.
Yeah.
It had been there forever. And it was funny because I took it off to have it reupholstered. And when I did, you should have seen, it was like a drug lab that fell out of the... It was, I mean, if I could have scraped all of that into a baggie, everybody would have gotten high for a week, you know?
We used to do that. I won't mention the artist's name, but he was a member of a band with 4 last names in it, and he would sit at the B3 taking a business card and dipping it into a half-gallon or a quart, whatever, the big Ziploc,
Oh,
and dip it in there, and whatever fell out of his nose would fall into the keys and eventually make it. So when we finished the album, one of the guys in the studio said, "Go get a Phillips head." I did. We lifted out the keyboard, and then we took a nylon stocking. We ran to a drugstore, bought a pair of legs, stockings, put a piece of the stocking over the vacuum cleaner, sucked it all up, then ran it through a strainer to get all the crap out of there. And we got a large quantity of illegal substances, so I know the drill. All right, some questions came in while we were talking. Right. That is our age group, though. My wife, who is a little younger, doesn't understand the whole thing. But I'm sorry, honey, this is, the business I was in and the age that I am. It was everywhere. Yeah. Can you name drop some awesome players that sat in with the band? That's a good question.
Yeah, well, if you're a musician, Dennis Chambers.
Yeah.
Played drums with us. Steve Smith played drums with us. We've had Will Lee play bass. We've had Brendan Fields play saxophone. We've had all of the Stevie Nicks band, all of the Carlos Santana band. We've had, Prince has been in the audience, and most of his band have played with us.
Wow.
It's kind of a who's who of that's the thing about our band. It attracts all the we're a musicians band.
Yeah.
We're kind of self-serving. What amazes me though, Michael, and you're going to see it when you come to see us, is the audience. The demographic is really wide, right? I mean, there are people way older than us and way younger than us, and a lot of times our music is not the most commercial stuff. We're like, even in I'll Pack It Up, right? I write these sections where I devote it strictly for the horn section, and I'll leave those blank, and I'll leave those for the horn arranger to do stuff. But a lot of times our gig turns into, it's almost a jazz study or a funk clinic, and yet there are people who and I'm thinking, they don't even really get what we're doing, but they get the feeling of what we're laying out there, and yeah.
It's funny you mentioned Weather Report before, and I used to hire Jocko as the bass player on demos that I did when I was first learning how to produce, and he would play. I have recordings at home. Jocko Pastorius playing bass on like a folky singer-songwriter thing that I paid him $50 for.
Wow.
Oh, man. Okay, another question. Has Jerry had any interaction with the Tower of Power guys?
Every one of them. I've been friends with Emilio Castillo, Mimi, since the 70s. And I've played with them a couple of times. There was times when they, asked me if I was interested in being in the band. Every one of them. The old guy, Bruce Conti, one of the original guitar players, was in my band Santa Fe. Wow. And he's one of the guys that was one of my mentors. Chester Thompson. Every one of them are friends and fans of my band, and our band is, I tell people we're like a nephew of Tower of Power, Earth, Wind and Fire, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Wayne Cochran and the CC Riders, Chicago. Every one of the Chicago guys are as well, come in and sit in with us. And I toured and recorded with Bill Champlin, a bunch of stuff. In fact, we wrote a couple of new things for the new record. Yeah, I mean, the Tower Power guys, I mean, here's the difference between Tower Power and Santa Fe and the Fat City Horns. Tower Power is like a well-oiled machine. And I mean, every time I go see them, and I've seen them 100 times, it's like school. Yeah. Right? But it's like this. Our thing is, we've got charts and we're playing those charts, but there's we're not just playing funk music, we're playing salsa funk and salsa funk rock and blues jazz. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's a way more eclectic blend, and mix of music, and there's probably a lot more improvisation in our band than there is in Tower of Power's band. Not that they couldn't, because they've got amazing musicians. Tom Politzer, the guy that's playing tenor now with them, every time they're in town, he's on our stage with us.
And everybody goes to Vegas sooner or later, So that
Exactly.
what a great business move, but also from just pure joy for you guys to have this weekly gig on a Monday. That right, you're right. If it were on a Friday or Saturday night, everybody else is working. By
Yeah.
doing it on a Monday, they probably stay over. If they come in to do a weekend show, they stay over just so they can come and hang with you
Sure.
guys.
Yeah, they stay
Brilliant.
over, and so that's what happens. Yeah, you never know who's going to be in our audience. I mean, literally, you just never know who's going to be there.
How long did it take you to write the track for "I'll Pack It Up"?
Um, I probably worked on that for about 4 days, to be honest with you. That was a lot of the stuff that I write. I'll grab the guitar. Sometimes I'll put in a drum loop of a groove that I'm thinking about, and I'll grab the guitar or I'll grab the bass, and I'll just start. I'll start, noodling. I'll hit record and I'll start noodling, and I'll start, and then I start developing the sections. Little by
Yeah.
little, I'll go, okay, so here's what I'm gonna do here. Here's what I'm gonna do there. My phone is filled with what I call kernels.
Hmm.
I'm driving and I get an idea. Do 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 do. Get the phone. Do 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 do. And that goes in a folder. And when it's time for me to write or try to think of something, right? I open up all of these things and I think about what is appropriate for what it is I'm thinking about doing, and I'll start developing that. I'll grab the guitar and I'll get the changes, and I'll get a drum loop going in Superior Drummer 3 or something, and start developing it. And I'm so adept at doing that, I think, from writing quickly for the infomercial stuff, right?
Yeah.
Because that's like we're playing, writing, composing, mixing, and mastering right now, you know. So yeah.
I'm going to, if you don't mind, if you can hang out for 15 more minutes, I'm going to let this episode go 15 minutes long just because this is too good to say, well, it's been great having you, Jared. Bye. And just for reference, on my phone, if you hit the phone memo, it says, don't forget to pick up the milk. Okay, looking for another question. Do you ever use samples?
I use samples in when I'm writing music for infomercials or for some other project. Santa Fe is for my band. It's a really organic thing. It's a yeah. That's a band. You
Yeah.
know, and not that we're against using any of that stuff. And we'll see how it comes out. Like I said, Phil Wigfall, our alto sax player, has written some extremely funky songs for this next record, and a couple of them we might use a loop or a sample. But for the most part, everything that you hear on our records, we can duplicate live exactly the way that you hear it on the record.
The show that I watched where you guys were doing your live stream, it was like 99% as good as the record, and you guys were
Yeah,
playing it live.
yeah.
Maybe it was 100%, but I was laughing to myself because we hadn't had the conversation yet, I don't think, and I was laughing going, these guys are so good. I'll bet you they just recorded that track live in this setting and they just had somebody mix it.
We
Just,
have we have a genius by the name of Bob Lentini. He wrote the software for a DAW called SAW, Studio Audio Workshop. He's literally a genius, and I met him in the 70s when he was a kid, and he was building consoles.
wow.
And he's a software developer, and he's also one of the greatest audio engineers. We've got him in the back room mixing our live band directly to the live feed, and he's the reason it sounds that good. And I'm telling you, I get goosebumps thinking about it because well, I can tell you this: when we set up to do those live streams during the lockdown, it was 3 months before I said, let's do it, because we experimented every possible way you can imagine to to get it right, to make it sound right, to make it look right, and until all those pieces came together, where we got Bob Lentini, and we did other things that we did, it wasn't happening. But now it's like, the scary thing about that is that now we have to get on stage, and you're not always 100%. You're not always going to get there, and and those things are forever, man. It's like back in the day, the guys would get to the gig and go, so who's in the audience tonight, right? And now it's like the world's in the audience. That's who's in the audience.
Yep.
A little scary.
What's the guy's name again? The engineer guy?
Bob Lentini.
Well,
Lentini.
If he ever disappears, I had nothing to do with it. I've only mixed a live thing PA once. An artist named Gilbert Montagnier from France, who was like a superstar over there, but nobody in America. And he came to the States to work with me. And then 4 years later, I was in France, and I got to go to one of his shows. And he asked me, literally 5 minutes before he hit the stage, hey, why don't you mix the 3 songs you did with me in the studio? I'd never done a live gig in my life. It was terrifying but invigorating, all at the same time. So yes, if Bob ever disappears, and I happen to be in the audience that night, I just want you to know now, I had nothing to do with it.
I'm telling you, he's a genius, and the software that he's developed is beyond belief. RML Labs. Look that up and look at the software programs that he's developed. One of them is called SAC, S-A-C, and it's a monitoring rig that software based. Elton John's using it. Different people are using it, but it gives each guy not just his own mix. It gives them each guy an entire console with EQs for everything. You name it. Anyway, it's crazy. Bob Lentini, he's a genius.
I can't wait to meet him and shake his hand, because
you will.
Everything about you guys, it's like you totally get it. You seem like a pretty laid back guy, but yet a perfectionist at the same time. You understand the importance of quality, but you also understand that there's got to be a life balance of having fun while you're producing the quality. You've got it figured out, dude. You need to teach an online class about this stuff.
Yeah. I've thought about it. I've thought about that. Yeah, maybe one of these days I will.
Who's your drummer right now? And is it the same drummer you've had for a long time?
His name is Johnny Friday, and his main gig is with Arturo Sandoval.
That's right.
Yeah, he's played with Natalie Cole and Bobby Caldwell, and he's played with too many names to every one of these guys has got a pedigree, as long as your arm. But Johnny Friday is a force, and he was with us. He's been with us for like 3 years now. Prior to him was Pepe Jimenez, and Pepe left because he went with Carlos Santana for a while.
Did you ever know a guy named Frankie V, who I believe was the band director for Arturo?
Frankie V. That sounds familiar.
Heavy set guy, horn player. Anyway, I'm actually going to a friend's house tonight. It's the Jewish holiday of Sukkot, where you eat outside in this little hut type thing. And right. Frankie V is the first cousin of this family. And a lot of times when I go for family dinners there, Frankie's there. So if he is, I'll say hi. He actually got us to come down to the Catalina once in L.A. to see Arturo. And wow, what a show that was.
Arturo's wild, isn't he? I mean, his piano playing chops are, as good as anybody. Forget about the trumpet stuff. First time I worked with Arturo, I was working with, I was doing the Livin' La Vida Loca tour with Ricky Martin. And it was the first year that there was Latin Grammys. And we did a big tribute to Tito Puente. And there was a super band, and Arturo was in the band, along with every other major Latin musician. It was crazy. I somehow lucked out and was guitar player in the band. I don't know how that happened, but
because you're the right guy for the gig, that's how it happened.
I'm kind of like Forrest Gump sometimes. I'm just.
I actually I recorded Tito at a place called TK Records. Had a studio in Hialeah in Miami, and
Wow.
and the guys who worked in the studio, frankly, weren't all that good. The engineers, they were just guys who learned the bare minimum because nobody else would do it. And I was working in that studio on like a country rock record, kind of like the Eagles meets Firefall. And so they used to call me when they actually needed like a real engineer. And one night I got a call and it was to record Tito. So anyway.
Wow.
All right, a couple more questions here. Let's see. Gotta scroll back up. Now they're talking about food again. I got that one already. All right, well, if you guys are out of questions, yeah, everybody's silent. Now it's like they're asking questions the whole time we're talking, and then the minute I say you got a question, everybody shuts up.
I want to invite everybody, if they come to Las Vegas, to look me up, to come out to the show. I want to encourage everybody to keep writing and don't get discouraged, and learn as much as you can about finding ways to, because like I told you earlier, there's so many different ways that music is used that people don't even think about, right? My friends who write music for slot machines, and myself that I write music for infomercials, and the millions of opportunities there are for getting music placed in TV and movies, which is something new to me. This is why I recently joined Taxi, and I've been studying. I've been learning everything I can. I've got the books.
Yay!
I've got the, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm digging deep because I know that I can take what I do now and it can translate into writing music for TV and films. I just need to, I need to learn the business. I need to learn about metadata. I need to learn about, all of those things that we need to learn about. So I'm a big sponge.
Well, I'll tell you what. We have a problem at Taxi, which is a chicken and egg problem. We get requests for Latin music. We don't have enough members who are proficient at doing Latin music. And we get guys who aren't authentic that try to do it, and they pour their heart and soul into it, but you can feel the lack of authenticity. So the companies call us up and say, can you find me, Latin pop or Latin this or Latin that? And we're honest with them. We say, we're not going to find you a lot because it's chicken and egg. We don't have enough members who can do it right. And then we don't have enough listings asking for it, so people don't join Taxi. So you should put some of your guys together or do it on your own. But I'm telling you,
that's in the works. I've been watching the listings.
Yeah.
And my partner Jamie and I I did a solo CD several years ago, and there were songs that I wrote for Ricky Martin, things that didn't get recorded. But so I'm taking these things and I'm updating them. I'm doing them bilingually, and I'm working those are. But I got to do it right, so it's going to take a little bit of time. But I've got all of that stuff on the back burner. I've also got, I've got stuff, everything from contemporary country stuff to blues stuff to the Latin pop stuff, and obviously the funk things that are my real wheelhouse.
Yeah. Do your kids play?
Every one of them, they've all got the gift to some degree, or the curse, whatever it is. But none of them have the other things that I'm saying, that made me what I am, that where like it was a blind love of the thing, and I had the guitar in my hand, till I fell asleep when I was a kid, and but they've all, they've got great voices. My son played saxophone since he was since he could play saxophone, reads music way better than I ever did.
Huh.
But it doesn't do to him what it does to me.
Well,
it doesn't.
You're a special guy. I've been in the business for almost 50 years, and I've known a lot of musicians, from absolute neophytes to, Paul Schaefer guys in New York and Steve Gadd, and out of all the people I've met in my career, you're in a very small club of people that I could say were born to do this, that you can feel the thing emanating from you. You know who the other one, Katy Perry. She was a screener at Taxi. She had her first record deal. She got dropped. She was trying to get another record deal, and I walked in the lobby one day around 9:15 in the morning, and there was this cute girl standing there by the front desk. I had no idea who she was, what she was there for, and I didn't really pay much attention other than went, oh, she's kind of cute, just a like footnote. And I walked by her, turned left to go down the hallway to my office, and I thought, I just felt a vibe. I literally felt a vibe. I had no idea that she was here to audition as a screener. I had no idea that she was an artist herself. And you've got that thing. Some people are literally put on this planet to fulfill a destiny. You're that guy. So,
wow. Well, I'm flattered by that. Thank you.
I'm honored to know you and have the conversation. And I want to take us out by playing, I'll pack it up one more time because people are asking for it in the chat room, and I planned on playing us out with that anyway. And I promise you, I am coming to Vegas to hear the band. I want to meet all the guys and congratulate everybody for living the dream. And I will try and get it together that I can bring a bunch of Taxi members with us, and we'll have some fun.
Do it. It'll be great. All right. I want to thank everybody. I've got to run. Thank you so much for having me on. And like I said, everybody, don't get discouraged. Find the love in what you're doing. Do it because you love it. Find the way that you love it. All right?
Absolutely. Jerry Lopez, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, Jerry.